When they got to Hagrid's hut, Harry knocked on the door and it creaked open and, "Hello, Hagrid, we've missed you." How? Harry stopped in horror. Standing in his doorway with a wide, goofy grin on his face was Toddler Hagrid. Though much smaller than usual, he was still towering over them due to his natural half-giant size. He was pudgy and adorable, with wild, curly hair sticking out in all directions and a tiny baby version of his beard. His hands were large and chubby, gripping the door. He looked at Harry and Hermione with childlike glee. "Harry! Hermione!" Toddler Hagrid squealed in his thick accent, his voice high-pitched and excited. "Yeah, here, yeah." He clapped his big, chubby hands together, hopping up and down with all the excitement of a toddler greeting his favourite people. Harry blinked. "No way, Hagrid too?" Hermione looked ready to faint. "Oh no, not Hagrid." Hagrid was completely oblivious to their shock. Hagrid reached out with his giant toddler hands and grabbed Harry, pulling him into an enormous, bone-crushing hug in his arms. "Harry, me missed you. Me so happy you're here," he babbled, squeezing Harry tightly. "Hagrid can't breathe." Harry wheezed, trying to wriggle out of the giant toddler's grip. Hagrid finally let go, giggling to himself. "Harry funny, me hug Harry lots." Harry stumbled back, catching his breath. "Hermione, we're not getting a break." Hermione, staring at Hagrid in disbelief, shook her head. "Hagrid, you're a toddler." Hagrid just grinned, his chubby face lighting up. "Yeah, me lil Hagrid now, me big but lil. You want come in?" he asked, pulling on the door, opening it wider so it crashed against the wall. Harry and Hermione stepped inside. They were greeted by the sight of Toddler Hagrid's hut, which looked like a cross between a nursery and a zoo. There were piles of hay scattered around, and several small magical creatures were wandering about. It was a complete mess. Animal fur, bits of rock cake, and Hagrid-sized toddler toys were strewn all over the floor. Hagrid toddled over to a pile of rocks and proudly picked one up. "Me like rocks," he declared, holding it out for Harry and Hermione to see. "You want one? Rock good. Me make rock cake." Hermione cringed. Oh no, not the rock cakes again. Harry, trying to process this new nightmare, looked down at the rock cake in Toddler Hagrid's chubby hand. It was even worse than the usual ones, covered in drool and crumbs. Thanks, Hagrid. Maybe later." "You eat rock cake," Hagrid insisted, thrusting the rock closer. "Me made it." Harry quickly took the rock cake, nodding nervously. Sure. I'll save it for later, okay?" Toddler Hagrid nodded enthusiastically, very proud of his creation. "Yeah, eat, Harry. Me make lots. Yeah, Hermione wants some too." He toddled over to Hermione, offering another slobbery rock cake. Hermione winced, but took it anyway. "Thank you, Hagrid. I'm not hungry right now." Hagrid giggled and waddled back to the middle of the room, where he plopped down on the floor and started playing with a small, plush dragon toy. He waved it around, making roaring noises. "Roar! Dragon big! Me big! Like Hagrid!" Harry watched with Hermione. They both felt utterly defeated. He won't be safe on his own. We'll have to bring him to the castle with the others." Hermione said tonelessly. She was so tired of this. "I just can't do this anymore. How do we get him to the castle?" Suddenly, Toddler Hagrid spotted Fang, who was curled up in the corner of the hut. "Fang, come play with Lil Hagrid!" He giggled, trying to get Fang's attention, but the massive boarhound just lay there, looking sleepy. "Play, Fang," Hagrid said, and tried to pull Fang up by his collar. Fang looked once at Hagrid, turned over with a lazy bark. Clearly, Fang wasn't much bothered with whatever Toddler Hagrid wanted him to. Hermione sat on a chair. "Let's just have a quick rest. It really isn't as busy as Hogwarts." Hagrid was now lying on the floor, pretending to fly the plush dragon in the air. "Me dragon! Fly high! Big wings! Whoosh!" he babbled, giggling to himself. Harry smiled despite the madness. At least he's having fun. Hermione looked half-heartedly and agreed with a nod. "Harry, you look after him then while I rest, Harry." She sleepily sitting with her eyes closed and her face buried in the backrest of the chair. But just then Hagrid's eyes lit up as he spotted something outside. "Look! Look!" he squealed, pointing out the window. Me see thestrals, me like thestrals. Before Harry or Hermione could stop him, Toddler Hagrid ran toward the door, his chubby legs moving as fast as they could. Me see animals, me go see thestrals. Hagrid, no, Hermione shouted, getting up and rushing after him. But it was too late. Toddler Hagrid flung the door open and waddled outside, giggling as he made his way toward the edge of the forest. Harry and Hermione chased after him, trying to catch up to the surprisingly fast toddler. "Hagrid, stop!" Harry called, running ahead of Hermione. "You can't go into the forest." But Hagrid was too excited to listen. "Me see animals, me feed thestrals," he babbled, pointing to a patch of the forest where several invisible thestrals were grazing. Hermione grabbed hold of his tiny hand, pulling him to a stop. "Hagrid, you can't just run off like that." Hagrid pouted, his lower lip sticking out. "Me like animals, me want see thestrals." "I know, Hagrid," Harry said, kneeling down to his level. "But it's dangerous to go in the forest alone, especially as a toddler." Hagrid huffed, crossing his arms. "Me not, baby. Me big. Me feed animals." Hermione sighed. "Hagrid, please. We'll take you to see the thestrals later. But first you're coming with us to the castle." Hagrid seemed to consider this for a moment, then nodded reluctantly. "Okay. Me come with you then." He trudged along holding Hermione's hand as they walked back to Hogwarts, grumbling to himself. "Me not baby, me big Hagrid." Harry shut and locked Hagrid's hut door, then kept beside Hagrid as they walked, in case he saw another monster that Hagrid thought worthy of his care. When they got to the entrance hall of the castle, Hermione sighed in relief. "Okay, now we just have to get him to the Gryffindor room then, and—" But as soon as they walked in, they were greeted with yet another sight which made them freeze in their tracks. Running around the main hall, laughing and playing tag, was none other than Toddler McGonagall. They had left the toddlers with her, but now she herself was a toddler. How was this happening? She was smaller than most of the other toddlers, but just as fierce-looking, with her tiny spectacles perched on her nose and her hair tied up in a little bun. Despite her toddler size, she had all the fiery energy of a young child, and she was chasing Ron, giggling and shouting in her thick Scottish accent. "Gotcha, ye wee rascal," she cried, tagging Ron on the shoulder with a loud slap. "You're nae fast enough for me, laddie." "No, just no," Harry bellowed to the heavens. "No, not her too." Toddler McGonagall was still running around, her tiny feet moving quickly as she darted behind one of the columns, giggling as Ron chased after her. "Me get you, McGonagall!" Ron shouted, his little toddler legs pumping as he ran after her. "Me bloody fast, me catch you!" "Ach, nae chance, laddie!" McGonagall called back, sticking her tongue out playfully as she darted away. "You canny catch me? I'm quicker than a broomstick in a gale." Ron burst into laughter, loving every minute of the game. "Me get ya, bloody get ya." As chaotic as the scene was, the rest of the toddlers, Lockhart and Dumbledore, were still completely unaware. Toddler Lockhart was busy in a corner of the hall, signing random pieces of parchment, still muttering about being famous, while Toddler Dumbledore was perched at the head table, lazily twirling his little silver beard and humming to himself, completely uninterested in the game of tag. "Me run school, me so cool," Dumbledore muttered, not even glancing up as Toddler McGonagall zoomed past him. "Chief Wizzygamo, me leader." Toddler McGonagall zigzagged around the room, her tiny legs somehow impossibly fast. "As tired as I am, this is fascinating." Before Hermione could reply, Toddler Hagrid suddenly perked up, his eyes lighting with excitement. "Me want to play tag," he declared, his chubby legs already moving as he tried to run after McGonagall and Ron. "Me fast too, me catch 'em." "Hagrid, wait!" Harry started, but it was too late. Toddler Hagrid was already barreling forward, his massive toddler frame rumbling across the hall like a runaway boulder. "Tag! Tag! Me get ya!" Ron squealed with laughter. "Hagrid wanna play! Come get us, Hagrid!" McGonagall, still full of toddler energy, cackled and took off running again, shouting over her shoulder in her thick Scottish accent, "Ach, nae chance! Hagrid's too slow, me too fast for all ye!" Hagrid no slow, Toddler Hagrid shouted, chasing after her. Hagrid big and fast? Harry turned to Hermione. Hermione, we just got Hagrid to stay put and now he's playing tag. Harry said, rambling, we might as well not hope or even think of getting a break any time soon. We're just not going to get one, are we? They both watched helplessly as Toddler Hagrid, Ron and McGonagall raced around the hall, giggling and shouting. You canny catch me, laddie, McGonagall shouted again, darting between Ron and Hagrid. You're slow as a three-legged sheep in a snowstorm. Me bloody fast, Ron shouted, chasing after her. Me catch you, McGonagall. Hagrid, however, wasn't giving up. His giant toddler legs kept moving as fast as they could go, but despite his size, McGonagall was always one step ahead. Me catch you, McGonagall, Hagrid bellowed, his chubby arms flailing as he ran. Me big and fast. Meanwhile, Lockhart was still blissfully oblivious, scribbling away on his parchment. Me famous, me bestest wizard, me sign books for all, he muttered to himself, completely ignoring the chaos around him. And Toddler Dumbledore, still sitting lazily at the head table, yawned and stretched, twirling his little silver beard again. Me head wizard, me best in the world, he sang softly, his eyes half closed. Me run school while ye all whirl. Harry slumped against a column. Hermione, this is impossible. Every time we think we've got a handle on it, something else happens. Now, McGonagall is playing tag. Hermione sighed deeply, her voice filled with exhaustion. Harry, I refuse to leave them alone or give up. Get Dobby to bring food in the common room while I get them there if I can. Just as she said that, Toddler McGonagall zoomed past them again, this time shouting, You'll nae catch me, nae in 1,000 years, laddie. Ron, still laughing hysterically, shouted back, Bloody get ya, me catch ya! Harry wasn't paying to Hermione's instructions, watching Toddler Hagrid trying, unsuccessfully, to catch up to McGonagall, who was now hiding behind one of the chairs. Agreed. Toddler Hagrid had finally caught Toddler McGonagall, who had been darting around the hall, laughing and shouting in her tiny Scottish accent. But this time she wasn't getting away. Me catch ye, McGonagall! Hagrid shouted triumphantly, lifting her into the air with his massive toddler arms. Gotcha! He bellowed, giggling with glee. McGonagall kicked her little legs in the air, squirming and wiggling. No, me no wanna! Put me doon! She yelled, her voice breaking into a whine. Haggy bad! No catch me! Wriggling and kicking her little legs. Me too fast, you nae catch me. But Hagrid was determined. He toddled over to a high shelf and plonked her on top of it, well out of reach of anyone except him. Now ye stay! You no run way! He said, looking proud of himself. McGonagall's eyes widened as she realised she was stuck. No! Me no wanna be up here! Haggy, me doon! Doon! She kicked her feet against the shelf and pounded her little fists, her face scrunched up in frustration. Oi! Oi, Haggy! You bad, 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 bad! Her face turned bright red and her fiery Scottish temper kicked in. No! She shrieked, her tiny fists pounding the shelf harder and harder. Put me doon! Doon, Haggy! Me no wanna stay up here! She kicked her legs furiously, her little feet banging against the wood. Doon, 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 you big dafty! Oi, oi, oi! Harry and Hermione, standing nearby, were completely stunned. Hagrid just put McGonagall on a shelf, Harry whispered, wide-eyed. Hermione covered her face. This is a disaster! McGonagall, meanwhile, was not calming down. In fact, she was getting louder. Haggy, you mean ye big meanie? Me no wanna stay up here, ye bad! She screamed, her voice filled with toddler rage. Me big girl, me no stay on shelf! She threw her arms in the air, waving them wildly as she shouted, Oi, 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 put me doon! Ye canny leave me up here! Me no stay, Haggy! Oi, oi! Every time Hagrid toddled by, giggling and chasing Ron, McGonagall shrieked after him. Oi, Haggy, put me doon, now! Oi, me no like shelf! Ron, finding the whole thing hilarious, doubled over in laughter. Hagrid put her up there, she stuck, bloody brilliant. McGonagall's face scrunched up as she started to throw a full-blown toddler tantrum. Her little fists pounded on the shelf, her legs kicking as she yelled, "Me no stay here, me down now, doon, 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 Haggy bad, oi, oi, oi." Her Scottish accent made every word sharper, fiercer, and filled with toddler fury. "Me no baby, me big girl, ye get me doon or ye in big trouble." Hagrid, who was too busy running around with Ron, didn't seem to notice. Every time he passed by, McGonagall's screams only grew louder. "Doon, me want doon, you hear me, Haggy? Put me down!" she screeched, her tiny fists banging against the shelf like a drum. "Me no stay here! Me no like shelf, you daft giant! Put me doon!" Harry, trying not to laugh at the sight of toddler McGonagall throwing a tantrum, sighed. "We've got to get her down. She's going to wake the entire castle with that yelling." Hermione groaned, "And we thought Ron was bad." McGonagall, now throwing bits of parchment from the shelf in frustration, kept screaming, "Oi, Haggy, doon, ye bad! Me no stay here! Doon, ye lump!" Hagrid ran by again, giggling as he chased Ron, and McGonagall yelled at the top of her lungs, "Haggy, doon, now, me no happy, oi, oi, oi!" Her face was bright red, her little legs kicking furiously as she continued her tantrum. "Me want doon! Doon, doon, doon!" Harry rubbed his temples. "OK, let's get her down before she throws something else." McGonagall, hearing this, shouted louder, "Doon, doon now! Me no stay here, ye bad Haggy, ye big bad baby!" But now Hagrid had his sights set on toddler Ron, who was still running around, loving every second of the madness. "Me get ye, Ron!" Hagrid shouted, his big toddler legs pumping as he ran after Ron. "Me catch ye now!" Ron, giggling uncontrollably, tried to dart away. "No, you no get me, Haggy. Me too fast." But Hagrid's long arms were too much for Ron to outrun. With one final lunge, Hagrid grabbed Ron by the back of his shirt and lifted him into the air. "Gotcha, Ron!" Hagrid giggled, holding Ron up high. Ron, kicking and squirming, yelled, "Bloody Haggy, put me down, me no like this." But instead of setting him down, Hagrid waddled back over to the same shelf where he'd plonked McGonagall and plonked Ron right next to her. "There, you're not run now," Hagrid said, laughing as he toddled off to find someone else to chase. Ron immediately started kicking his legs and shouting, his little fists waving in the air. "Bloody Haggy! Bloody no fair!" he yelled, his toddler voice full of frustration. "Me no stay here! Put me down!" McGonagall, still stuck on the shelf and now furious to have company, yelled, "Oi, Ron, you're stuck too now! Haggy bad, bad!" Ron turned to her, his face scrunched up in annoyance. "Bloody stupid! Haggy big dumb! Me wanna get down!" Harry and Hermione watched from across the hall and stared in disbelief. "Hagrid put Ron on the shelf too," Harry laughed with a huge grin. "This just keeps getting funnier." Ron wasn't one to give up without a fight. He started pounding his own tiny fists on the shelf. "Oi, Haggy, you big bloody dummy! Put me bloody down! Me no stay up here! Down, Haggy, now!" McGonagall, still throwing her tantrum, joined in, waving her fists. "Doon, doon! Oi, Haggy, ye bad!" Ron, mimicking her but with his own flair, shouted, "Bloody down! Haggy, you big dumb giant! Me want down! Down, now!" Every time Hagrid ran by, both Ron and McGonagall would scream in unison. "Down, Haggy! Me no stay here!" McGonagall yelled, kicking her legs. "Bloody down!" Ron shouted, pounding his fists. "Haggy bad! Me no like shelf! Me bloody big boy!" Hagrid found it completely hilarious and toddled past them again, chasing after some of the magical creatures that had wandered into the hall. McGonagall's voice grew shriller as she screamed, "Oi, Haggy, put me down now, ye big bad baby!" Ron was equally angry and shook his fists and yelled, "Bloody put me down! Me no stay, Haggy bad!" Harry couldn't get them down for laughing so hard. "Ron and McGonagall are both stuck up there screaming at Hagrid." Harry wheezed, laughing. Hermione sighed but didn't elaborate. Ron grabbed a nearby piece of parchment from the shelf and hurled it at the floor. "Bloody stupid shelf! Me hate shelf! Me want down!" McGonagall threw another inkpot off the shelf. "Doon, oi, Haggy bad! Ye no leave me up here!" Hagrid toddled by again, giggling as he ignored the shouting toddlers. Ron, his face bright red, screamed at the top of his lungs, "Bloody down, Haggy, you bloody bad idiot! Me no like shelf, me big boy!" McGonagall, her tiny fist shaking, screamed along with him, "Down! Me no like! Me big girl! Haggy bad!" Harry sighed, shaking his head. "We really need to get them down before they throw everything off that shelf." Hermione nodded, groaning. "Let's get them down before they bring the whole hall down with their tantrums." Harry walked over to the shelf and lifted Ron down from the shelf. "All right, Ron, let's get you down." As soon as Ron felt Harry's hands under his arms, his tantrum softened and he pouted, looking up at Harry with sleepy eyes. "Bloody tired," Ron mumbled, his little fists rubbing his eyes as Harry lifted him down. Meanwhile, Hermione carefully picked Toddler McGonagall up off the shelf. She was still kicking her little legs and grumbling, "Me no like shelf, me no like." "Come on, Professor," Hermione said gently, carefully picking up the tiny McGonagall and holding her close. "Let's get you down." The moment McGonagall was in Hermione's arms, her fiery energy seemed to fizzle out. She let out a tiny yawn and buried her face in Hermione's shoulder. "Me sleepy. Me no play more," she mumbled, her little voice growing soft. Ron, now resting in Harry's arms, yawned widely, his head drooping against Harry's chest. "Me want sleep," he muttered, his eyes fluttering shut. Harry, looking down at Ron, couldn't help but smile. "Of course you do," he said quietly, holding him gently. Hermione, her arms full of a suddenly docile McGonagall, sighed in relief. "I guess all that shouting wore them out," she whispered, watching as McGonagall let out another tiny yawn and snuggled into her arms. They walked over to a nearby bench, both of them exhausted, but relieved that the chaos had finally died down. "Let's just sit for 5 minutes before we take them to bed," Harry suggested, carefully sitting down with Ron in his arms. "Agreed," Hermione replied, settling down beside him with McGonagall resting peacefully against her shoulder. "I need a break." The two of them sat there in silence, the weight of the day catching up to them. Ron and McGonagall, who had been so loud and wild just moments ago, were now curled up in their arms like the smallest, sleepiest toddlers. "Looks like they're out," Harry whispered, glancing down at Ron, who was already fast asleep, his head nestled against Harry's chest. "Finally." Hermione looked down at McGonagall, who was snoozing quietly in her lap, her tiny hands clinging to Hermione's robes. "She's asleep too," Hermione said softly, brushing a strand of hair away from McGonagall's face. "I guess they really were tired." They both sat there for a moment, enjoying the peace and quiet, with the two toddlers fast asleep in their arms. The hall, which had been filled with chaos just moments before, was now calm. Harry leaned his head back, letting out a sigh of relief. "We should probably take them to bed, but honestly, I don't want to move." Hermione agreed. "Me neither. Let's just stay here for a bit. They're asleep, and we finally have a moment to breathe." Harry smiled, glancing over at Hermione. "Deal, just 5 minutes." And with that, Harry and Hermione sat quietly, holding the sleeping toddlers in their arms, finally able to relax, even if it was just for a little while.